Hello, and in today's video we are doing a deadline day prediction video, including what Watford need in the remaining days of this summer transfer window. It shuts very, very firmly shut on September the 1st, and time is ticking. There's deals that need to be done, and there's not a lot of time to do them in. So, we're going to start off with the Premier League. We're going to talk about the summer window that has got in full swing, and we're going to talk about any predictions of players to come in the Premier League in the last minute, what each club needs. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Watford, my team, and quickly address what has happened in this window for us, and therefore what we need to get done before the 1st of September. However, as a Watford fan who is watching our performances recently against Preston, against Birmingham, against MK Dons in the Carabao Cup, I'm not feeling too optimistic about our chances this season, and I just feel that pessimistic thing that we're not going to make many more signings, and it doesn't look like a season where I feel confident about us going up. So, yeah, we might have to languish in the Championship for a bit, but we'll get to that. Let's start off with the Premier League. And that man there, Ivan Perisic, that is a great signing for Spurs, and he got his first home assist at the game at the weekend against Wolves. Now, ultimately, I think that Spurs don't have to do that much more strengthening. Ideally, another striker would be a great thing for them, but it's just all this time has passed and they've not brought in a striker. So you kind of think that's probably not going to be their priority. But let's quickly talk through each of the teams and tell you what I think they need. So firstly, let's talk about Bournemouth. I do feel Bournemouth have done a very, very limited amount of business, and I think that's going to hurt them when it comes to it. As I see there, Everton selling on loan Dele Alli. I mean, that's fair, because what was he going to actually do playing for that team? So, yeah, interesting. Also that Chelsea have signed Casade. They've brought in another defender, I do believe, there. And Emerson into West Ham is a great deal for the Hammers. But just talking on Bournemouth, I think they need to really strengthen. I think they need another striker. As good as Dominic Solanke and what's the other one? Sorry, Kiefer Moore. As good as they are in terms of they're good for Bournemouth, they're not Premier League level. It's as simple as that. They're Championship at best. So I think they need to get in another striker, and I don't know who would want to go to them, to be honest. As plucky as Bournemouth will feel they're going to be this season, I just think it's going to be a difficult one for them to attract the right players. So I don't know where to suggest for Bournemouth, but I think they need a striker, and I also think they need a defender, because they looked very, very leaky against Man City, also against Bournemouth, but they haven't got that assertive centre-back at the back. I mean, they've brought in Senesi, who looks, interesting, but I just worry that they lack a real leader at the back, and I think that's what they need ultimately to have any chance of getting a miracle survival. But, let's see what happens. They might finish higher than we think, but I think their business has been a bit to be desired. I don't know who would go there, really. So only 5 days of the window to go, and it's going to be interesting to see if anyone does go to the Cherries. So those are my positions I think Bournemouth need to strengthen in. Arsenal, I honestly feel Arsenal have had probably the top three of the top three best windows of any Premier League club this window, because honestly, they've strengthened where they needed to. They needed to get in a proper number 9 that scored goals after Aubameyang left and was a bit of a sour taste in the mouth with how he dealt with that. And also, obviously, Lacazette was going off the boil and rightly so returned to his previous club, Lyon. But they needed a number 9 that was finishing those chances, and Jesus is that man. He has been superb so far this season, and I think with Zinchenko as well, who is also from City, and they're winners. They're what Arsenal needed, with Tierney always getting injured at left back. So I think they honestly have got so many good players in this window. The only players I think would really top the cherry off and really do the good business would be Tielemans. Because ultimately, I think Arsenal still lack a holding midfielder that really can control the game. I mean, let's see what happens with Fabio Vieira, whether he has an impact. Xhaka, to be fair to him, has done well, but I just feel they're still missing that number 6, really, to dominate the play. And I think that would be perfect for someone like Yuri Tielemans to slot in there. I mean, whether he would leave Leicester is another debate, because Leicester have probably got a lot of ideas about keeping hold of their players, with Maddison rumoured out, with Wesley Fofana rumoured out to Chelsea. Well, with Chelsea getting that centre-back, who knows if that's going to go ahead now. But ultimately, I think Leicester are going to be desperate to keep Tielemans. Whether he will stay or not is another question, because, Tielemans, I think it was a recent game he didn't play, and you just think, oh, there's something going on there. I mean, I think Fofana's definitely going to leave, because he was, well, supposedly, Rodgers has said that he's now training with the under-23, so who knows what's going on there. But the point is, I think Arsenal would like Tielemans. That would be a great fit. And a lot of people talk about Pedro Neto as well. I'm not sure if he really is what Arsenal need right now, but, he would be a decent signing as well, so you can't really disagree too much with that. But ultimately, I think they don't have to strengthen that much, really. They've really looked good to start the season. It's ultimately going to be about, have they got enough squad depth, and have they got the bottle to do well against these more difficult teams later on in the season. Looking ahead to Villa then, ultimately I've been quite disappointed by their window. I mean, they did a lot of early business, to be fair to them, but Diego Carlos, yeah, it's a good signing. He should do okay over the season. But outside of that, I've not really been that inspired by Aston Villa. I think Coutinho was a good thing to get him permanent, but I think they needed another midfielder, to be honest, another player to play alongside, like a John McGinn, because I just feel like their midfield to defence is too open to attacks, and they're just a little bit too leaky at the minute. But that's one for debate. Whether you agree with me or not is another question. Brentford, I've been really surprised by Brentford's business. It's been very, very interesting, to say the least. Like, they brought in players that not many people would have gone for, like someone like Akeem Lewis-Potter at Hull. He looks like he could really do well this season. I thought Ben Mee was a really good signing, because ultimately he was doing really well at Burnley, and Burnley weren't really doing well enough for Ben Mee. So that was a good transfer. And Damsgaard, I think, is going to be really exciting. He really lit up the Euros in 2021. With that, obviously, that free kick against England. He's got good set piece delivery. This Brentford team like set pieces, and they score a lot of goals from them. So I think there's some good signings here. I would have ultimately said another striker for Brentford, because as good as Brian Mbeumo is, I think he just doesn't even come close to Ivan Toney. So a bit of support for Ivan Toney would have been better, but maybe Mbeumo can improve this season. Ultimately, though, outside of that, I think that's been a good window for Brentford. Looking ahead to Brighton, I think Brighton do need another striker. I say it time and time again, but I just don't feel like they score enough goals. Now, fair enough, this season has started differently. They've actually scored some, and from other areas of the pitch, Pascal Gross, Leandro Trossard, and obviously McAllister with the penalty against West Ham. But I still feel they need a number 9 that's going to get goals. As good as Welbeck has been, I think they are missing that. So that was the only thing I would say. But defensively, they look good. Estepinian, let's see if he does what he can, because he was decent at his time at Watford. Whether he'll be the right replacement for Cucurella is another debate, but I think ultimately Brighton should be fairly happy. It's just they need a striker, in my opinion. Then Chelsea, I think Chelsea need a striker. I think a lot of these teams need a striker. They just cannot play Kai Havertz as that number 9. I don't think it works. Sterling is playing as a kind of wide forward, but he's not really a number 9. He's not really a player to get in it, on the end of crosses, and they need someone to do that. So I think they still need to get a striker, and I'm not sure who that would be, really, to be honest. But they do just need to get someone in. I don't know who that is. Cucurella, though, is a very good signing. I think he'll do well. Then Palace, I think Palace has had quite a poor window. I thought they would really shake things up, because previous to last season, they had loads of players go out on contract, and they did finish well, to be fair, under Vieira. They had a decent season, but they just still seem too heavily reliant on Wilfried Zaha, and if he got injured, I worry where their goals would come from. I mean, they've got Eze, they've got Elise, and they've obviously now got Edouard, so I just don't know if they're going to get as many goals without Zaha if he's injured, but, as long as they keep on to him, they'll be happy. Everton, I think defensively, there's some good signings in there with Tarkowski and Cody, but they need to get a striker, man. Like Rondon, that's not good enough. Calvert-Lewin's currently injured, I think, so they just need a striker. I think a lot of teams in this window need a striker. Fulham, I've been really impressed by their business. Pereira's a great signing. Palinha's a fantastic one from the Sporting. Really good Portuguese international coming through the ranks, looking really impressive. Defensively, I still worry for Fulham, but Shane Duffy and Issa Diop could be okay. Let's see how they go. Leeds United, I think they've had a decent window. Ultimately, we'll have to see how players like Rocker and Adams and Sinistera do. I mean, Sinistera just scored in the cup, so let's see. But as of yet, Aronson looks superb. Christensen, let's kind of decide later on, but I still feel they need another striker alongside Bamford and Rodrigo, because if Rodrigo got injured and Bamford is not exactly looking fit at the minute, then Leeds might struggle for goals. Leicester, been a very bad window for them, only Smithies in, and that's probably all that's going to happen. They just look like they're running to the end of their course, Leicester, a little bit at the minute. Players leaving, and I don't know where they're going to excel, really. So it's going to be a tricky season for the Foxes. They, for me, definitely need a defender, because if Fofana leaves, that is a big hole to fill. And especially if Tielemans leaves, they need another CDM. So let's see what happens in terms of outgoings. But I still feel if Maddison goes, that's a big player to replace. Liverpool, I think for me, it's clear where Liverpool need to strengthen, and that is in their squad depth. With the game on against, I can't remember who it was, Palace, I think it was, or it might have been Manchester United even, but they've got people like Ramsey and Van der Berg on their bench. Oh, come on. They need to really strengthen their squad depth. But look, Darwin has been an interesting signing, obviously sent off, but he will do well across the season. I just feel that they need another kind of couple of fullback replacements if Robertson or Trent got injured. City, I don't think they need to strengthen, to be honest. Their squad depth is pretty good. It's not brilliant, but it is pretty good, even though they've sold Sterling and Fernandinho. And, I still feel they need another right back. I just think if Walker got injured, who they're going to play? They could play Cancelo there, but it's better if they have someone else. Sergio Gomez will be a long-term kind of left back. I don't think he was going to go straight in. But Calvin Phillips, is criminal that he's not even starting games now. So yeah, good window for City. United, definitely need another defender, okay? I don't want to see any Harry Maguire starts this season. He is trash. And I also think they need another holding midfielder, as crazy as that sounds, after bringing Casemiro. But I just don't think Fred is good enough, to be honest. I think as much as he'll claim he is, he's not. So they need another number 6. They probably won't get him. And they'll probably not get another striker. But I think another striker alongside Ronaldo, for me, Martial is just not going to cut it. It's as simple as that. Newcastle have had a good window. I think Nick Pope's a very good transfer in. Sven Botman could do well. But ultimately, I still feel Newcastle need another centre-back. I think they need to kind of improve that defence a little bit more. So that's where I would strengthen for them. Forest, I think they've had a crazy window. I mean, the amount of players they brought in is crazy. So I can't really say bring in someone else because they've brought in enough people. Emmanuel Dennis is a great transfer. He'll do well, I would imagine. And Gibbs White, fantastic buy from Forest there. Southampton, I'm not quite sure, to be honest, with Southampton. A lot of their players I'm not have really heard of. So I think they need another striker alongside Che Adams. And I also think they need another left back, because if for some reason Kyle Walker-Peters or someone else goes out injured, then they're going to be low on kind of options. Spurs, I still feel they need a striker. Honestly, as good as they were to start the season, they need another striker to go alongside Kane. And now I say that with Richarlison, obviously he can play as striker, but I still don't think he's good enough right now to start. So let's imagine Kane got injured. You're not going to want to start Richarlison every single week. So I think you need a backup striker still to Harry Kane. But elsewhere, still, it's been a decent window for Spurs. West Ham, now, good signings with Cornet and Kehrer, for sure. Emerson's a nice one, with the drop in form, really, of Cresswell. But I still feel they need another midfielder, because, look, Rice is good, but you need someone alongside him to protect that back four. And I just don't think that the players they have right now do that well enough. And then finally, Wolves. It's easy where Wolves need to improve, really, isn't it? It's creating goals. It's scoring goals. I mean, they've brought in Nunez, who is going to hopefully create. They've brought in Guedes, who's hopefully going to score. But I still feel they need another striker. I think they need to kind of get maybe even a championship striker. Just have someone in the door competing, because they've got Fabio Silva out on loan. So for me, that's very, very simple for their Wolves window. And those are my Premier League thoughts on the transfer window. So in terms of late predictions and Premier League signing window predictions, I think St. Maximan might go to Spurs. I'm not going to lie, that he could be decent as a transfer. Bowen, whether he goes to West Ham, I don't think he will. And the last player I will say that should come to the Premier League before the window shuts, as I say, I think Everton are desperate need of a striker. So I think a really good shout for Everton this window would be a bit of an underdog, to be honest. He's a strong player, but he's just been playing for a long time at one club, and that is Andrea Belotti. Now, it might be a bit of an ambitious one, but he has been at the same club. As good as Torino are, I think they're probably thinking at this point they're going to sell him on. So I think that'd be a great signing for Everton. They need to get in some better players. Okay, now let's move on to the second half of this video. This is where I do some thoughts on Watford as a general whole, looking at our business. We'll just quickly touch over this. Obviously, it's not been an ideal kind of window, especially with this. Hassan Kamara has been loaned out to Udinese for next season. So he's going to be back for this season, but 16 million, he's going to go out, not loan, but he's going to go to Udinese, basically. So it's a weird one, I can't lie. 16 million is an interesting one. It's basically to balance the books, but Hassan Kamara is probably one of my favourite Watford players. So to see him go next season will be devastating, even if we get promoted. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. So if of all players to choose to do that balancing the books, that was not the player for me, but it is what it is. We've also brought in a few strikers, Manai and Bio. Whether they're any good, I don't think so at the minute, but let's see. Time will tell. And also we brought in Keenan Davis. I'm keen to see how he gets on. We've also brought in at fullback, we've also got Mario Gaspar. He's going to take a while to adapt to the league though, so I'm not too sure about him. But I'm really excited about Courtney Hawes. I think he's a very good signing, and I'm very happy about him. But ultimately, when you look at some of our sales this window, you've got Kamara pending, obviously, for next season. You've got Dennis. You've got Cucho Hernandez. You've got Sissoko. You've got Kiko Femenia. There's some big losses there for Watford. Certainly, it's been a tough window for us. Getting relegated the second time is always going to be more difficult to keep on hold of players. Will Sarr stay? I don't think so, but let's see what happens with that. Pedro, I think, might stay if we're very, very lucky, because Newcastle might get Isaac and that might push it back. But at this point, we're likely to lose one of Sarr or Pedro. Let's see which one it is. If it's both, which probably also likely, then we just have to go with it. But at the end of the day, I'm not too fussed about the players we brought in this window. I'm more upset with the players we've let go, but only time will tell. I think we've still got a decent squad depth. It's a big blow to see some of those players leave. So ultimately, what do we need before the window shuts on the 1st of September? It's simple for me, and that is another fullback. And if we're letting go of Kiko Femenia and bringing in Mario Gaspar, we need to bring in another left back, because we let go of Messina to Udinese. Kamara's good, but he needs backup, and Sema I just don't think works at that left back spot. So for me, we need another left back. I'd also like another defender, because centre back wise, we haven't really upgraded that much apart from Courtney Hawes. So I'd like another centre back, and I'd also like, I know it's a bit picky, but a number 6. All right, sorry, no, not number 6, a number 8. We haven't really got a number 8 other than Cleverly. We haven't got an attacking midfielder. We let Keena go out on loan. Just come on, bring in a number 8, a left back, and a centre back. That's all I want. Strikers, fair enough. You've bought plenty of those. Whether they're any good, I don't know, but at this point, they're probably not going to bring in another striker. So as much as I'd like to bring in a goal scorer that's proven, it probably won't happen. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.